Joy News Prime.
In a related development, the New Patriotic Party has criticized government's reaction to reports Ghanaian lives are being endangered in ongoing xenophobic attacks in South Africa. In a statement issued by the opposition party, the NPP described the government's response so far as weak. General Secretary Kwabena Ejapong signed the statement and joins me via Skype to provide more clarity. Good evening to you, Mr. Kwabena Ejapong.
Good evening.
Now, why do you say that government's response to all these attacks have been weak?
Well, I think first and foremost, look at the images that we are getting from South Africa. These are very good images, and you get a commensurate response from the government. So I think that President Mahama, I'm sure of issues of ECOWAS, but sovereign country, as his chairman, but I do we need a firm, strong response.
All right, we seem to be having some challenges with our Skype line to you. We would try and see if we can work around that and get back to you, Mr. Kwabena Ejapong, but we'd have to move on. We'll be back with you. Meanwhile, security analyst Dr. Kwesi Enning has said xenophobia in South Africa will not go away if the fundamental problems of jobs for the majority black population is not resolved. Speaking on today's big story, Dr. Enning said, although there are misconceptions about how many jobs are in the hands of immigrants, the statistics really won't matter if the government does not take steps to address the imbalances in the economy when it comes to jobs for black South Africans.
I think we have a panoply of regions contributing to this. I think in the last 15 years or so, this is about the third or fourth xenophobic attack. And it's beginning to, and it's continuing to get worse and to grow by the day. It's most unfortunate, particularly when these people, migrants, are providing skills and jobs that actually employment also for South Africans. So it's most unfortunate. One can never say never, but it will stay in South Africa for a very long time to come because the very nature of the political discourse and the structure of the economy means that the wealth is actually still going to a very exclusive group, and quite a number of the highly educated foreigners who are needed by the South African economy to grow will be protected. The economy is a magnet, it's the second biggest in Africa, if not the biggest. So to still attract people to go there. It's important and it's imperative for South African politicians to know that words have power. And when words are translated into action, and particularly when it's the type that mobilizes and distorts the reality of ordinary people, then those words can turn into violence. And that is what we are seeing.
And that's what
I think there's got to be a manner in which those words can also be criminalized, so that those who incite this type of violence can be punished.
All right, we're going back to the General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party regards to the statement they issued in relation to the xenophobic attacks. Thank you once again, Mr. Kwabena Ejapong, for joining us. So you were making the point about why you said, or why you think that the NDC, your government's response to the xenophobic attack so far has been meek.
Basically, we haven't had a
All right, it still appears that we're having challenges with Skype. We're going to try and reach you on phone, but let me just go through the statement that you issued. The New Patriotic Party notes with deep concern the meek response of the NDC government towards the gruesome xenophobic attack in South Africa, which has claimed the lives of many Africans, including some Ghanaians. Considering the serious nature of these events, our government was expected to, among other things, to unreservedly condemn these attacks and, in concert with other African governments, exert the necessary pressure on the South African authorities to act swiftly and decisively to end these barbaric and inhuman attacks on other Africans. Sadly, so far, the NDC government has shown a lackadaisical attitude which is manifest in its inability to communicate to Ghanaians any measures it is putting in place to assist our nationals in South Africa. Neither have they outlined any contingency plans to evacuate them if necessary. Even more damning is the posture of the Foreign Minister, Tete, who blatantly refused to speak to a local radio station on the issue and arrogantly posited that she will only do so on Radio Gold, a known NDC radio station. Her conduct is as reprehensible as it is insensitive, especially in a matter involving people's lives and emotions. The president should act decisively on her indiscretion. The NPP strongly urges the president to carry out his sworn obligation under the 1992 Constitution to protect the life and safety of every Ghanaian, whether home or abroad. The party shares in the pain and suffering of many Ghanaians whose loved ones have been caught up in this unfortunate situation. And it's signed by Kwabena Ejapong, General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party. Now, we'll try and see if we can get to him on the phone line. But in other news, a High Court in Accra will issue a ruling next month on an application for submission of no case by lawyers for the former Chief Executive of JEDA, Abuga Pele, and the CEO of Goodwill International Group, Philip Asibit. The two are facing charges of causing financial loss to the state in a scandal that is said to have cost the country more than 3 million Ghana cedis. Lawyers for Chena Paga, Member of Parliament Abuga Pele, and businessman Philip Asibit say the state has not proven its case against their client. They have therefore indicated the intention to file submissions of no case in the matter in which the two are standing trial for causing financial loss to the state and defrauding by false pretenses. The lawyers made this known in court today after state prosecutors closed their case.
We are saying that looking at the various charges that the accused persons have been charged with and looking at the evidence that has been adduced by the prosecution so far, from our perspective, remember, that it's not the court's decision yet. From our side of the story, we think that they've not succeeded in pointing out the various ingredients for the offenses for which we've been charged. And for that matter, we should not be called upon to open our defense. That is all we are saying. But remember, that is only from the side of the accused persons. It is for the court to decide. So that is why the matter has been adjourned. And the defense has been, the accused persons have been asked to put in their submission of no case in a written submission, which will be done. Then the state will also respond, and then the judge will rule on the 19th. Normally, would have even asked for more time, but we all know the nature of these kind of cases. And so we think that we are much grateful to the court. We think the court is doing both sides fair by giving us that period. Though usually we would have even asked for a year, because it takes a lot of work anyway.
The Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority has denied employing fresh staff through backdoor channels despite a government freeze. The authority, however, admits it is engaged in some recruitment, except those being employed are part of a process initiated in 2013 before the freeze on employment. The GRA also confirmed the integration of some JEDA and NYP volunteers on attachment as mainstream staff.
The reaction from the Ghana Revenue Authority follows widespread speculation about clandestine recruitment into the agency. Joy News had obtained videos of some of the recruits being bused to the GRA training school at Petoi in the Volta region from Accra. The authority, however, explained the recruits who were transported on that day were part of a process that started in 2013. Robert Nana Mensah, who speaks for the Customs Division, said apart from the junior and senior operational staff, the process covered some specialized staff.
We were recruiting, following due process, following our own in-house mechanisms, which function was approved by the board and carried out by management and all the departments, HR, public relations, legal, estates, our training school, and all of it brought their input. For instance, both groups, we took them to a work stadium where they came in their white top and down to come for their body screening. So these have all been done in the open. You could see things happening at the, so maybe that adjective may be too strong, but whatever we've done has been quite open and done transparently.
He also explained the decision to integrate some JEDA and NYEP staff who have been working with the authority for some years now.
By all the problems the JEDA and NYEP face, most of them were not even on their payroll. So it's a decision made from our end to absorb them. And I think it was just fair. Because you go to some of the offices and they are virtually the one who are holding some of the clerical and even field work together. And they've gained experience over the years, and I wouldn't want us to make good use of them. In fact, they are not, it's not even a wholesale. You might have seen on the notice board as we were coming that they are also going through an aptitude test. It's not just even a wholesale. So
he cautioned that the GRA does not sell recruitment forms, and anyone offering the forms is misleading the public.
We never had forms. And we have always said over and over, please advertise in the newspapers, gone on air to tell people that if anybody should approach you that we are selling customs forms or GRA forms, straight away get that person arrested. And people are taking a piece of good money on all sorts of pretenses. But
have you had such complaints?
Yes, last week we just rounded up somebody who said he had paid some 9,000 Ghana cedis or so to get recruited. Where was it paid? He called the place. We just gave the people the phone call, took pictures of him and bundled him over. That they should deal with him and should let them do their own in-house identification parade, get the person and deal with the person.
It is unclear though how many of the new recruits are being taken on through the JEDA NYEP window. Officials downplayed the request for the figure, indicating all the recruits will be taken through the same process. Martha Krentsolakwa, Joy News, Accra.
A number of deaths that occur during accidents can be blamed on poor handling of victims. Experts say helpers usually miss the critical things they need to do to save a person's life, as their focus is only on transporting victims to the hospital. It is for this reason that the Ghana Red Cross Society decided to establish an emergency first aid post on the Accra-Tema motorway, a stretch on which many have perished in motor accidents. Joy News' Adelaide Arthur, however, reports the post is facing a number of challenges, amongst them the lack of first aid medical supplies.
It's almost midday on Sunday, and the emergency response unit operated by the Ghana Red Cross Society is closed. I was here 2 days ago and the facility was closed then. Meanwhile, they are supposed to be the first point of call in an event of an accident on the Accra-Tema motorway. Only 6 volunteers instead of 13 work at the emergency post, usually for 12 hours on most days, which means there are times of the day there are no emergency responders on call.
They don't come on Sundays. That one is the major problem that we have, because they are working on the highway and anything can really happen at any time. So we need them 24 hours, whether day or night. First they say they are emergency.
It's a relief that the Ghana Red Cross Society's emergency first aid post along the motorway is opened today, Monday, after it was closed the whole day on Sunday. So I'll be going in there now to check out what they have there and how they operate.
We have here the first aid box, which contains of the bandage, cotton wool, gloves, and the rest. Bandages.
What's this? It holds the grip?
Yes.
Okay. And then you have cotton wool?
Yes. We have your nose masks. We have your bandages. And then scissors.
I can see you also have beds here. How many do you have?
We have 4.
The Ghana Red Cross struggles to fuel the only ambulance here, donated by the Chinese Red Cross. Lives of victims often hang in the balance when riding in this ambulance. It all depends on how fast the driver can get to the nearest hospital, as the ambulance also lacks emergency medical supplies.
There was a white lady over here. She normally brings hers. So in case she's not around, then what we have to do is to ask the driver to drive fast and get to the hospital. The other time when we got an accident here, she brought drip and then some of the things.
So those are her personal items?
Yeah, her personal items.
We have here the oxygen tank here, which is always empty.
The facility has no electricity. Another reason volunteers are unable to operate at night. All these challenges defeat the purpose for which the Emergency First Aid Post was established in 2011 with the support of corporate organizations. The Ghana Red Cross Society concedes it is unable to perform satisfactorily because government funding is not forthcoming.
Red Cross was set up by Act of Parliament, supposed to have gotten support from president or government. Unfortunately, Ghana Red Cross is not receiving such support from Ghana government, and that is why we are not able to do what the Act set us to do. That is a major challenge. Now we are in a situation where if you don't have corporate support, then you can't do anything as Red Cross in Ghana.
According to Mr. Dakon, the Accra-Tema motorway should not be the only highway with an emergency post.
The idea was to have it on all accident-prone areas in Ghana, where we collaborated with the Ghana Highway Authority to have all these spots. But building it is one problem, and then even getting, like I say, the equipment, the little logistics to start is also another challenge. We see in most situations, casualties or people die not because they were to die. It is because of the way they handle. People die because people who get there on time have no knowledge in basic first aid. For that matter, they try to do the last thing first. The last thing that we're supposed to do is to transport this person to hospital. But the first thing is to try to stabilize the condition, and these things are not done.
Another plan to train drivers as first aiders was also stalled due to lack of commitment from stakeholders. The limitations of the emergency unit was tested 2 weeks ago when a Metro Mass Transit bus crashed into a parked, broken-down truck. A Toyota minivan, which was following the bus closely, also ran into it. Several people were injured, but the emergency officers who rushed to the scene were ill-equipped and unable to stop bleeding or relieve the victims' anguish.
All right, so still on the xenophobic attacks taking place in South Africa, we're making one final effort to try to reach General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, Kwabena Ejapong. Good evening to you once again, Mr. Kwabena Ejapong. So you were making your point about the fact that you think government's response to those whole xenophobic attacks has been meek. Now, what would you have done differently? Mr. Kwabena Ejapong, one more time, I just want to know, from your statements, it's clear that you're not very enthused about the way government has handled this whole xenophobic attack issue. What would the NPP government have done differently?
I think it's quite clear from the reaction of the government that they are not attaching a lot of seriousness to what has happened. First and foremost, when people are in need and there's a crisis, you develop a contingency plan which can kick in should the need arise. And so that what kind of help Ghanaians are being given through our consulate and elaborate plans and put across telephone numbers for them to be reached. For instance, there are many Ghanaians here who have relatives out there in danger, haven't heard from them. How do they communicate with our embassy in South Africa, for instance? All these plans, nothing has been heard, which are detailed that allows relatives to find out what is happening to their loved ones in South Africa. And the government, in fact, the conduct of the foreign minister, to say the least, was shocking when he was questioned by your station. And he refused to even speak to your station and said that he could only speak to Radio Gold. in such a serious matter that affects the lives of Ghanaian people, you would not expect a minister of state who has sworn to defend the people of Ghana to resort to petty politics. So it just goes to show you the president should act decisively on that. We believe that that was very well below the bar, and that it shows is the complete manifestation of the lukewarm attitude that this government is showing to many issues, and this includes.
Now, one final issue that you brought out in your statement, where I'd like to get some clarity on. You're saying that the attack in South Africa, which has claimed the lives of many Africans, including some Ghanaians. But so far, we're told that no Ghanaian has been killed in relation to the xenophobic attacks. Where are you getting your facts from?
I think that we all have seen images of what has been going on in South Africa. This has the potential to explode in other countries. And I think that the earlier the African countries, Ghana inclusive, deals with the issue, the better.
But do you know for a fact if any Ghanaian...
I think it's important that the government has not come forth with information. There's been a lot of scanty reporting from the South African media, from the international media. It is the duty of the foreign ministry to brief Ghanaians, the consulate, to brief Ghanaians on what has happened and what is going on and what measures they are taking to secure the lives of Ghanaians and what they are doing to assist those who are looking for some consulates from their government. I think that is the important thing we were talking about. We cannot have the government sit aloof when lives are in danger. The images that we've seen all over, and citizens of other African countries, and this has the potential to cause all over the African continent. And I think that as political leaders, together, we should have a very firm response so that the South African authorities will act to stop the carnage that is going on.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Kwabena Agyapong. Kwabena Agyapong is the General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party. Thanks for your time. Still on the xenophobic attacks, Trade Minister Dr. Akosua is urging swift action to end ongoing attacks targeted at Ghanaian and other foreign business interests in South Africa. He says considering the huge business interests South Africans have on the continent, it will be in the best interest of their government to stop any further violence, as they are likely to encourage reprisal attacks.
It's unfortunate if any of the people that have been attacked are a Ghanaian-owned business in South Africa, because part of what globalization is all about and African integration is about is for people from one country to be able to do business in another country. It may be that some people are staying there illegally, but if they are staying illegally, there are legal procedures in almost every country for identifying illegal residents and moving them out of the country. The way to deal with illegal immigrants is not to kill them. There's nowhere in the world where illegal migrants are killed. South Africa has more to lose from this than almost any other African country, because they have investments all over Africa in larger volumes than almost any other African country. There's no other African country that you go that you find a Ghanaian telephone company operating there. Or there are not many countries where you find major Ghanaian banks operating there, where you find Ghanaian mining companies operating there. But South Africa has companies that are in all those sectors, plus in the retail outlets, in shopping malls, all over Africa. So they have every reason to behave themselves so that they don't have the kinds of retribution that some people are calling for. Of course, it calls for restraint at this point in time, and we just hope that this week we don't see any more of the photographs and videos that are all over the world giving South Africa a very bad name after they've spent so much time trying to brand themselves as a very friendly country and a great place to invest. There are a few people, I don't think there are more than 1,000 people out of the South African population behaving the way they did, but that's all it takes to give a country a bad name. And I believe the police and the law enforcement agencies of South Africa must be more visible. They must be seen restraining their nationals from any misbehavior.
We're taking a break, but there's more news coming up thereafter. Don't go away. The National Petroleum Authority is to continue installation of tracking systems on fuel tankers, which nearly resulted in a dispute with some tanker drivers. Some of the drivers criticized the NPA for seeking to sanction them those whose tracks do not have the device. According to the NPA, these tracking devices will enable the authority halt dubious claims made by some fuel tanker operators. At a meeting with the aggrieved drivers, the National Petroleum Authority appear to have found a common ground with the drivers. Yaruka Sambata speaks for the National Petroleum Authority.
The outcome of the meeting was that the ongoing policy of installing electronic devices on all bulk road vehicles, or as we call it, fuel tankers, will continue, and that at the moment all those 1,000 vehicles that have been installed with tracking devices will continue to transport fuel across the country in the manner that is prescribed, and then the rest of them that are yet to be installed would also respect the directive to operate within their designated zones. This is to ensure that we can monitor the claims they make on the mileage they've traveled and the distances they've covered for purposes of reclaiming or making claims for payments for freight.
Chairman of the Ghana National Petroleum Tanker Union, Erica Makong, earlier spoke to Joy News' Felix Akoyam about concerns of a breakaway faction.
There are concerns that some of the trucks are not fixed with the tracking device. And so to say that those trucks should go a shorter distance, they are not happy about it. As a national union, we think that MPA is the regulator, and if there are things that are happening, fall within their mandate to deal with them. So for us, we do not have much problem except that others are raising objections. And
you certainly have to represent the interests of your members, and if tracking devices are not being fixed on some of these cars, certainly some of your members should be worried about this.
The decision has been made that we fix it on all the smaller vehicles, those premise stocks. But here in the case, you load the premise and doesn't get to the destination. And the premise committee also has written to MPA that they are not getting the premise.
Mm-hmm.
It means that people are diverting the planned locations. And at the end of the day, it affects the whole industry. And it affects the fishing industry as well.
So shouldn't you, being the main union, be voicing these concerns?
Yeah, that is why MPA actually is also coming out with these regulations so that we can minimize, at least if not to eliminate, the effect of diversion, those diversions.
Residents of Wenchi in the Brahafo region are accusing police there of not being prompt in their response to distress calls. It follows a number of murder cases in the town residents believe are the works of a serial killer. The latest victim is a mentally challenged man whose right ear was cut off on Sunday. Nestor Kafuya Juma sent in this report.
This is the third time since the beginning of 2015 such an attack has occurred at Wenchi, according to residents. Perpetrators of previous crimes are yet to be apprehended. The latest attack left mentally challenged Joseph Kwame with one ear. He recounted to the police that a man and a woman came to sit by him at the Wenchi Old Market where he seeks shelter. They came back later, but he fell asleep while they were sitting by him. He woke up at dawn, only to find out he was bleeding heavily. A resident around the Wenchi Old Market spoke to Joy News.
He's always loitering around. He's always loitering around in this town. He doesn't harm anyone he sees. He is always begging for food and water. He's not troublesome at all. And he greets everyone here.
But the divisional crime officer for Wenchi, DSP Vincent Adote, disputed the assertion that the various murder cases recorded since the beginning of the year in Wenchi are serial killings.
We don't suspect any foul play. Recently, there was also a murder case at the Assembly's area. Yes, that's the third one. And this murder case, we suspected strongly that it is a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship that led to the death of the lady. There is nothing that suspects that will prove that it is a ritual murder. None of the body parts have been taken. Everything was intact on her, just that she sustained stab wounds.
He, however, assures the residents of Wenchi of maximum police protection.
The police are on the ground and we are doing our best to protect life and property in the area. So they should feel reassured that there is none of these things going to overwhelm the people in the town.
Meanwhile, Joseph Kwame is responding to treatment at the Wenchi Methodist Hospital whilst police investigation is underway. Nesta Kafu Ajume's report for Joy News.
We're taking a break now, but we have Abigail Adumakun Enchi who's going to join me with the business news. Stay tuned. Right, so my dear friend and colleague Abigail Adumakun is here with business. Good evening to you, Abigail. Apparently, there's some good news coming through from the IMF.
Yeah, there is. We are having the donor funds coming in. Well, Christine Lagarde is saying so.
Okay, but more importantly to me is that the IMF is saying that government doesn't necessarily have to increase taxes.
Yes, that's
which is good news to me.
Yeah,
take it away.
Let's get the details now. And Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Christine Lagarde, says she expects the country's frozen donor funds to be released. This follows Ghana's sign-up to a fund program with the IMF. The donor partners have held up some $500 million since last year because of concerns with management of the economy.
When a country has signed a program, has negotiated the terms and conditions and agreed to what is going to be good for its development, it generally always triggers on the part of other bilateral institutions, of other bilateral lenders, financing that sometimes had been frozen or locked pending negotiations. So this is a typical result that we see from a program conclusion.
Now, government might not necessarily need to introduce new taxes and hike rates to address revenue shortfall and finance the rising budget deficit. Ghana, under the $980 million IMF program, is expected to increase tax collections as part of measures to address government's rising expenditure. There are also proposals for tax increases to finance the high deficit. But speaking at a press briefing at the just-ended IMF World Bank spring meetings, Director of the Africa Department at the IMF, Antoinette Saye, said this might not necessarily be the way forward for Ghana.
We think it's entirely feasible for Ghana to achieve that fiscal adjustment, both in terms of reinforcing its revenue efforts, increasing revenues, not necessarily just by increasing taxes, but actually increasing revenue administration, dealing with some exemptions, and also, of course, better prioritizing expenditures. So we certainly don't think it's overambitious. It's absolutely doable if the political and social determination is there to do it, and we think that it is.
Away from the IMF, let's do something on the Made in Ghana campaign. Well, the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry says businesses should not be unduly burdened with the cost of acquiring the recently launched Made in Ghana logos. The Trade Ministry, at the launch of the logo last week, indicated government intends to use it as a source of revenue mobilization. But the Chamber of Commerce President Seth Ejeba says whatever fee government intends to levy must be minimal.
The Ministry of Trade and Industry at the unveiling of the logo said it will be used to identify all locally manufactured goods on the international market. Though the initiative has been largely welcomed, there are concerns levying businesses for the use of the logo will be counterproductive. Though the Chamber of Commerce also welcomes the introduction of the logo, he says it is more critical that government addresses the current energy crisis.
There are challenges, but we don't believe the challenges are going to continue to the end of the world. We think they are temporary, they will be addressed. Charges, yes, but we think it should not be too much. Whatever that you are doing, you should put premium on it. And the premium is how much you follow what you are doing. So with the amount, we are not against it. Just that it should not be too much, to add on to the cost of doing business. Business people decide to do a lot of things here, then they try to emboss some countries on it because we don't have any logo to identify our products. So they think like if you make a shoe and you put Made in Italy there, people will love it. But then Ghanaians are Ghanaians. We want to see what we are doing here, what belongs to us, what comes from us.
Trade Minister Dr. Ekosbiu Gabra is however assuring the cost of the logo should not unduly burden businesses.
It's going to be very reasonable. It's going to be a very small, a few cedis per item, depending on what the item is. Some items are more expensive than others. Assuming we're producing cars or motorbikes or air conditioners in Ghana, what you pay for that logo on a car or on a bike might be a little different from on a small, bowl or plastic bag of bananas or pineapples. It's going to be reasonable. It will be discussed and negotiated with the Association of Ghana Industries. It will not be imposed on them. They are all members of the Made in Ghana Committee, the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Association of Ghana Industries, the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, are all members of the Made in Ghana Committee. So they know what we are doing, and nothing will be done that will be against their own interests.
The initiative under the Made in Ghana campaign is part of efforts to correct the country's balance of payment deficit, which currently stands at $85.2 million.
Now let's see how the campaign unfolds. Now, how much are you willing to spend in a lottery or a promotion to win a 3-bedroom house? Kofi Annan invested 4,000 Ghana cedis in order to win the ultimate prize of a 3-bedroom house in the MTN Mafini promotion intended to reward loyal customers.
Mafini, which literally means "this is my year," seeks to reward MTN loyal customers, subscribers who won, met and exceeded this month's targets. Some of the prizes that were up for grabs were Huawei Y200 phones, Nokia Lumia phones, LED television sets, power banks, 2 Kia Rio cars, and the ultimate prize, a 3-bedroom house. Kofi Annan, who received the ultimate prize on behalf of his wife, said they invested a loan of 4,000 cedis into the promotion.
We are so excited. We never dreamed of getting a house in Accra. And now I can say that the whole family, we have a house in Accra. My wife and I, we decided to enter the promotion. You are not having money because you need to buy units or credits. So we went for a loan of 5,000 Ghana cedis. And we were able to spend 4,000 Ghana cedis and on credits. And just browse, download, and then text, talk, and here you are. It's a risk. In a risk, whether you gain or lose. So you go in, you never mind of losing.
Meanwhile, Richard Echampon, General Manager, Marketing Services of MTN, told Joy News MTN subscribers only need to recharge and use their credit to enter the promotion, and explained the reason for the promotion.
Well, Mafini, because look, we set out to change lives. We set out to give out prizes that will actually make dreams come true, that actually change the current situation of people for better. We wanted to impact the lives of our subscribers. So, for those who have need for houses, we said we're giving them brand new houses. For those who have needs for cars, we're giving them brand new cars. For those who have a dream of owning brand new iPhones, we're giving them phones and all the prizes that we have. So the idea is that, look, 2015 should be a year where positive things happen to us as a people, happen to us as a network, happen to us as individuals. And this is MTN way of making sure that positive, exciting things happen to our subscribers.
Winner of one of the 2 Kia Rio cars said he was disappointed because his target was the 3-bedroom house. Nevertheless, he's happy he won the car.
Last year, I was watching a program on the TV, one of these TV stations, and I saw somebody winning, a poor guy winning this car. And I said, no, why not me? I can make it myself. So this year, I targeted that I have to take the house. But God being so good, the Kia Rio rather belongs to me. Or in a day, it will depend on the place I'm calling. If I'm doing international calls, a day I can buy 7 million or 8. My message will be short. They should keep on texting, talking, and browsing. Not only rich people wins, but poor people too wins.
The next draw is slated for May. Ivy Jemfi, Joy News.
And that'll be all for business. My name is Abigail Adumakwenchi. George Adu Jr. is standing by with sports.
That'll be all for the bulletin. Before we go to a quick run through our top stories, the South African High Commission in Accra says security has been beefed up following threats by some unknown persons to burn its offices. Meanwhile, the New Patriotic Party has expressed strong reservations about government's handling of the matter following the death of 5 Ghanaians. The Ghana Red Cross Society has highlighted the critical need for emergency responders and how their presence as accident teams could help save many lives. And Accra High Court is to rule on a request by lawyers for former JEDO officials for charges against their clients to be dropped. And the Ghana Revenue Authority has denied backdoor recruitment of officers in contravention of unemployment freeze, explaining the ongoing recruitment process started in 2013. That's it for the bulletin. My name is Israelite. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good evening.
This is Joy News Prime.